The use of energy is a key in the human society to develop itself and to adapt to the environment. Its productions and consumptions are important for the global economy. Hello and welcome. I'm Stephen Ipalibo Lawson, and this is Business Matters, where business truly matters. Investment opportunities in the energy sector, especially when it has to do with electricity, involves exploration, drilling, production, processing, as well as refinery, not to mention distribution. Let's take our business update.
Hey, beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight. Now reading page 3. Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Intel 4G.
Intel. Live more.
Investors and experts in the energy and electricity sector have numerous choices for investment opportunities. Welcome to our professionals segment. Thank you for staying tuned on Business Matters. And today we're exploring the topic investment opportunities in the energy sector. And joining me in the studio to do justice to that topic is no other person than the Commercial Director Africa for Claron Events. And they are in the forefront in promoting opportunities, especially when it has to do with the power or energy value chain. Join me as I make welcome Mr. Ade Yusuf. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure and honor, sir.
Thank you.
It's interesting because we know for sure that this present administration is in the forefront of promoting the diversification of the economy.
Yeah.
And we know how important energy or power, however you want to use, is very critical in driving that agenda.
Yes.
But as a professional in this space, what will you say is the general performance or overview of this present administration vis-a-vis in terms of the power provision?
I think, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I think that you've hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that power sector is very critical for our economy, and I think the government of Nigeria recognizes that, and that's the reason why the first thing they've done when they got in this administration is to split the Ministry of Power away from Works and Housing.
That's true.
In order to have a direct focus on the sector, and the new minister for the power sector has been appointed, the person of Engineer Sali Maman. And I think even before that, there's the last administration. Everybody knows what the problem is in the power sector in Nigeria. It's not a topic that is hidden under any rock or anything like that. So I know that recently there's been a couple of incentives by the regulator when it comes to meters, for example, which is a huge challenge for the power sector. There's the biggest challenge is that the 4,000 megawatts that approximately 4,000 megawatts that we're generating in the power sector right now, it's not being commercialized.
Okay.
So which means that the gencos are generating electricity, and they're selling to the discos via NBET, which is bulk traders, and the remittances of the cost of the power that has been sold to the discos are not being properly, remitted to the government. So everybody's saying we're not getting paid for the power that we're providing to the people. And hence, government has to look at the reasons why people are not paying. Why are people not paying for power?
Yeah, some people actually believe that perhaps the tariff on the kilowatts or whatever it is you
Yeah.
consume at any given point in time
Yeah.
seems a little bit expensive, or perhaps you won't see it more like affordability becomes a question.
I don't think that the challenge with the consumer is not cost, because if you look at it at the end of the day, an average Nigeria is a self-generator himself.
That's true.
It generates its own electricity. But I think the barrier from the consumer and the provider of power in the country is trust.
Mm.
You know, why should I pay for electricity that I don't have access to? I mean, think about it. You know, so if the issue of trust can be dealt with, and people can actually say, okay, I'm paying, just like people pay their taxes.
That's true.
You don't have a choice. You got to pay your tax if you're getting salary.
True.
So that's how you have to see the power sector. If you are using power, you got to pay for it, because the people that are providing the power, they have to pay for the power that they're supplying to the consumer.
That's true. Because a lot of fact we know, especially in the industrial hubs and
Yeah.
those industrial estates, especially manufacturing sector, has become so bedeviled by this
Yeah.
whole challenge. As a matter of fact, they make the case that why don't we go IPP wise,
Yeah.
independent power providers wise, than basically have to be hooked up to the national grid. However, people feel that itself. You might have to look at government policy in trying to unbundle that sector. That way, it can drive investment. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think that large power users, which is commercial, industrial users, they have. There are regulations that have been addressed towards them for something like the eligible customers, for example.
Okay.
I mentioned to you earlier that the GenCos, which generates the electricity and supply to the discos, they are complaining that they're not getting paid for what they're providing to the power they generate and they sell. And one of the regulations that I don't know if it's already implemented, but I know there was a conversation around eligible customers whereby commercial and industrial users can go buy power directly from generation companies.
That's true.
And bypass the value chain of the discos or whatever, and then the GenCos can have their own direct customers as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so that would help to allow our commercial industrial users to be able to purchase power directly from the supplier.
Now, you live in South Africa, and comparatively, Nigeria
Yeah.
has more populations than South Africa.
Absolutely.
But then again, we realize that South Africa produces more power
Absolutely.
than
So,
we produce here in Nigeria.
by way of explanation, we say South Africa's got like 55 million people, approximately, and they have over 50,000 megawatts of generated power.
Wow.
Nigeria, in comparison, has over 200 million people, and we fluctuate between 3,000 and 3,500 megawatts of generated power, which the 3,500 power that we generate is actually not being commercialized. For example, that money for that power has not been, it's not been remitted. It's not remitted back.
Does this mitigate investment interest? And looking at Nigeria as an investment destination for energy and power?
So, like I said, power is very, very, very critical for the development of this country. So if Nigeria is the largest economy in Africa without power, then imagine how it would be if we had power.
Amazing.
It would be big. I mean, we have 3,000 megawatts for 200 million people, and we're still the biggest economy in Africa.
Oh.
Imagine if we even have like 20,000 megawatts. Just imagine that. Electrification rate is going to increase. People are going to have access to electricity. If they see electricity, I think it's just the mindset. I believe that if people see electricity, supplied to them, they'll pay.
They'll pay.
Yeah, because they pay a lot already for it.
For it. I mean, if you have to power your own generator,
exactly.
You
If you-
actually are paying for power in one way or the other.
An average Nigerian is a self-generator by himself. So if you're powering yourself with your generation, you're buying fuel every day or every month or every week, you know, I think that's, a family of 4 people would spend, I don't know what the figures is in Naira, but some ridiculous amount of money to power their generator day to day.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I don't think cost has ever been the issue with the average consumer. I'm not going to say, because we have a lot of people that are not paying for electricity as well.
That's true.
That's
true.
But if the whole value chain is positioned itself in such that the technology that the power sector uses, there are technology that can detect who is not paying for electricity, who is stealing electricity. There are meters that allows for people to for you not to be able to bypass or be able to manipulate the meters, for example. If these technologies are disseminated to the users, to the consumers, they will be able to track and monitor what is happening. And I'm not saying they're not already doing that. I'm just saying there's a lot more of that happening.
That's true.
There's going to be some level of accountability in the discipline in terms of people paying for electricity.
No, but interestingly, Ade, one of the things that concerns me, because this is a business program and we look at the different value chains in terms of opportunities, as the case is. A lot of businesses, I mean, you are in a business that facilitates investment opportunities between different players, nationally, internationally, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Do people actually find Nigeria as a market that they must be in, or it's just more like going round the wheel?
That's a very good question. Because everybody's looking at Nigeria saying, these guys are operating at 3,000 megawatts for 200 million people. Power needs to be to the people. And there is not enough going around. So what that means for them is opportunities. So it's not going to be a question of whether we have investors coming in. I think it's going to be a question of whether our government is, strategically positioned to meet with these guys and say, hey guys, we know we got problems. We know we have situation that we want to improve. And we, as government, we promise you that we will give you the enabling environment in which for you to thrive when you do business here. And that is what has been lacking.
We're going to be going on a break right now. As soon as we're back, we will continue to make sure that we have power.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Intel 4G.
Intel. Live more.
Thank you. If you're just joining us, this is Business Matters, and I'm having a one-on-one with Ade Yusuf, the Commercial Director for Clarion Events, and we're exploring the topic investment opportunities in the energy sector. Well, Ade, just before we went on the break, we were looking also at some of the fact that there is a need for government, for the different agencies to collaborate so that we have one voice in addressing this behemoth of a problem.
Yeah.
However, people wonder, what about the rural areas? What's the place of ensuring that power gets to the rural settlers to see that, especially when it has to do with agriculture? Because, I mean, most of the people who do the farming are more in those areas than they are in the suburban or in the urban cities or centers. Are there opportunities we should explore in that regard?
Absolutely. Because the reason why there's a lot of urban migration is probably because in a lot of rural communities, there are no access to basic amenities, which is power, transportation, water, and, name a few. I think to answer your question on whether there's a lot of traction going on with rural communities, I think the REA, which is the body that has been set up by government to look into the rural electrification agenda, have been doing a lot of good work. The REA, as at last year, would not want to talk about anything power sector related, but this year, they want to, from the meeting that I had with them, they want to, focus, they want to speak about some of the projects that have impact on in rural communities. For example, we know from research that the REA has got 37 projects that are about, that has seen up to completion in the past couple of months. I'm talking about them having to switch off certain universities. I think the 37 projects between universities and national teaching hospitals.
That's great.
To switch them off the national grid and power them through an off-grid means, which is through solar and I think gas as an hybrid system. And that is going to help a lot, because if you look at the teaching hospitals, for example, a teaching hospital cannot rely on a grid that is not consistent. There's got to be some form of 24 hours electricity in those kind of establishments.
Would they be commercially viable?
Most of the World Bank most of the REA projects, the rural electrification projects, are World Bank, are
funded, or more like intervention?
Are more of interventions from multilaterals like your World Bank, African Development Bank, etc. Maybe some government initiative as well. I'm not so sure, but they have been doing their job.
Okay.
I mean, they've been doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, that's impressive. Because on this program, we also try to unveil opportunities for MSMEs, because we strongly believe that MSMEs are the engine of any economy. I mean, in South Africa, in Asia, in Europe, as the case may be, they ensure that the economy remains dynamic.
Yeah.
And so in the power sector, they must be able to find spaces where they play. I would imagine that there will be franchising models that they can explore, especially when it has to do with a major challenge, which is revenue collection.
Yeah.
So are there opportunities for these guys to tap into this particular space?
There's a lot of opportunity in all the, whether you think about metering, whether you think about switch gears, whether you talk about transformers. The other day there was an article written on next year, the Nigerian Electricity Hub. It's a very fantastic source of news for power sector people. That there are over 700,000 faulty transformers in Nigeria.
700,000.
700,000 faulty transformers in Nigeria. Now, how many good working performers do we have? Or transformers, sorry, my bad. How many good working transformers do we have in Nigeria? I don't have access to that information, but I can tell you that a lot of people would agree with me right now that every Nigerian would be the first to raise their hand that they've seen their transformer explode 1,000,001 times.
That's true.
I don't think there's anybody who would not experience that.
A lot of us have.
So the question then is, what measures have been put in place in terms of having the right kind of specifications for the right kind of transformers, the quality of transformers? Because right now, I love China, but everybody runs to China now because it's cheap.
No, but China, as a matter of fact, has a model. There is another program that I also co-anchor with my host, and we looked at China. We said that it's not as if China does the cheap products.
Yeah.
If you go to China,
yeah,
China oftentimes will ask you,
what do you want?
What do you want?
Because you got everything.
So you should determine your specifications, aligns with standards that can bring about products, not necessarily cheap, but you can find them dependable.
Absolutely.
However, the challenge we have with some business people is that you go to China and you request for substandard products.
And that's what you get. And that's what we've been getting in Nigeria for the past couple of years. But the good thing is, there's been an awakening in the power sector, because I know that is happening, and I also know that there are some certain good individuals out there that are trying to create this change. For the power sector.
They don't want to do what is wrong at all.
I've worked with a couple of discos here in the country. I've been privy to some of their meetings internationally, that I've sat in rooms and they've been able to communicate what their problems are to a value chain of suppliers or whatever that is now being able to design certain products to help address some of their challenges. which, in some of the discos today are just basically collection.
Yes. No, but I mean, the collection is more like what you call the last mile.
Yeah.
And that is a metric with which you have to determine what the investor's return on investment is.
Yeah.
So if I can guarantee, it's like I'm selling a product to you, is that exchange
Yes.
that is going to help me determine if I'm going to be making a loss or I'm making a profit.
Yeah.
And you agree with me, I mean, in your own position that the opportunities, the investment opportunities in Nigeria, especially for the energy and power sector, is humongous.
Yeah.
So it's for us to begin to tap into all of this,
Yeah.
to see how we can create wide access to energy.
Absolutely. So you spoke about franchising, for example. And I did mention to you that some of the discos are challenged when it comes to collection. So what NERC has done is NERC is introducing a franchising model for the discos to say, okay, guys, you know what? You just focus on your day-to-day business. Whatever aspect that it is that is keeping you guys awake at night, outsource it. Outsource that part to a group of franchisees who will be able to carry out, some of those activities for you. So you can focus on,
Your core.
Your core, which is provide power to the consumer. So the MAPs is going to take care of the metering part of, collection, billing, CRM systems, etc. While the franchise will focus on the whole entire power sector. For example, it's just like having a sub disco, basically.
Okay.
So that can carry out the functions of a disco, but within a targeted community, basically. And that will provide a lot of investment for local companies to source international partners and bring them into play. So we need to empower the local players. The only way you can empower the local players is when the international guys come. You have to make it, a level playing field for everybody, and allow for transfer of knowledge and transfer of skills. Look at, for example, if you had to couple 2-3 years ago, if you have to do a solar installation, you have to fly people in from China to do local installation. We have engineers here in universities that can be trained, empowered to be able to carry some of these activities.
Okay, Ade, if we go on, we're not going to stop at all.
Absolutely.
I want to say a big thank you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The opportunities in this sector is quite huge, and we have to take advantage of them all.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much for being our guest on Business Matters.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, there's so much we can take, especially exploring the topic investment opportunities in the energy sector. Like you can see, there are so many areas you can key into. We just need trusted partners. Business Matters continues. The energy sector, especially in terms of electricity, offers a number of investment options. It could be complex since the industry spans from companies that drill for oil to renewable businesses which focus on wind and solar power generation. That wraps up this edition of Business Matters. Please do reach us all on all our social media platforms. I'm Stephen Ipalabo Lawson. Thanks for watching.